Hi! In the last video, we discussed about how to complete the square for quadratic functions. So today we are going to talk about minimum or maximum value of quadratic functions. So before we start, please take a pen, paper, and calculator to take notes or start practicing it by yourself. So before we dive into today's content, I want to teach you some necessary abbreviation or short terms related to today's video. It's like using a language in math. Okay? So look at the first table here. I have x less than 0. So this just simply means that x is negative. Okay? So in that number line, my red zone here, left side of 0 means x is negative. Then x equals to 0 means x equals to 0. Nothing changed. Then x more than 0 means x is positive. Means I'm looking at the right side of 0. Okay? So for quadratic functions, they have this general equation. They go by y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. To determine the shape of the curve, right, you need to see the coefficient of x squared. Okay? Coefficient means the number in front of. So the number in front of x squared. So if a is more than 0, or I can say if a is positive, right, then the shape of the curve will be a smiley face. If a is less than 0, means if a is negative, the shape of the curve will be a sad face. So this has a minimum point, and this has a maximum point. Okay? So for perfect squares, right, if you were to square a negative real number, what will you get? You should get a positive value, right? Because negative number squared means negative times negative. So it will be positive. And positive real number squared is just positive times positive. So the result will be positive also. So if you were to draw a number line over here, this represents plus minus 1 squared, which is 1. Plus minus 2 squared, 4. And I can go on and on. Right? This is plus minus any real number squared. It's just positive result. But what is the maximum, what is the minimum of a real number squared, a perfect square? The answer is 0. Because if you plus minus 0 squared, you would still get a 0. Okay, that is the minimum of all. Okay, so we look at question 1. What is the smallest or minimum value of x minus 3 squared, and when will it occur? So we deal with x minus 3 squared first. Okay, so you begin by writing since x minus 3 squared is more than or equal to 0. Why I put more than or equal to 0 is because it has to be positive or at least 0, right? For all real values of x. Then I draw a number line, okay? I let y equals to x minus 3 squared, okay? For you to visualize, okay? So if I were to rewrite it, it will look like that, right? Y is more than or equal to 0. Then in Sec 1, you learn how to draw a number line, right? So more than or equal, you have to shade the dot and point towards the right. Okay? So that means, right, your minimum y or minimum of x minus 3 squared is 0. It can never go to the negative zone. You square a number, it cannot be negative. Okay? So that's why you can start writing, you can start finding when will it occur, when will the minimum occur. So you equate this x minus 3 squared to the minimum, which is 0. Okay, so what square equals to 0? So x minus 3 must be 0, right? You take square root of both sides and you solve it, x equals to 3. Therefore, the minimum value of x minus 3 squared is 0, and it will occur when x equals to 3. Okay? So we go on to another question. Explain why 3 bracket x minus 1 squared minus 10 can never be less than minus 10. Now, again, you have to start by writing the proof of the square. Since x minus 1 squared must be at least positive or 0 for all real values of x. So now I need to times 3, right? 3 bracket x minus 1 squared. I times 3 on both sides. 0 times 3 is just 0. Okay? Then I have to minus 10. I have to make my left hand side look like the equation from the question. I minus 10 on both sides, which will give me this. Then I let y equals to 3 bracket x minus 1 squared minus 10. Rewriting this, if I rewrite this, it will be like that. Minus 10. More than or equal to minus 10. And I draw a number line. I have 0, I have 10, I have minus 10. More than or equal to minus 10 means shaded dot point towards the right. Okay? So this would tell me that my 3 bracket x minus 1 squared minus 10 cannot fall less than minus 10. Can never be less than minus 10. Why? Okay? Since the minimum value of 3 bracket x minus 1 squared minus 10 is minus 10. 3 bracket can never be less than negative 10. That's all. This is how you explain it. You explain by proving the square is more than or equal to 0. Then you manipulate to the equation. Okay? So question 3. Maximum value of half is half. Do you agree? As usual, you have to prove it by writing the square first. Since x minus 2 squared is more than or equal to 0 for all real values of x, right? So now my equation have a minus 4 in front of the square. So I multiply by minus 4 on both sides. What will happen to my inequality? It would change, okay? Why is that so? So if I have a 1 and a 2 here, my inequality will be like this. 2 pointing towards 1. But if I multiply it by minus 1 on both sides, it will be minus 1 and minus 2. But minus 1 is bigger than minus 2, so you point towards minus 2. So notice how the inequality change over here is due to the multiplying of negative. Right, so now going back to the question, I have to add a half on both sides to match to my equation from the question. So I add a half. Then I let y equals to half minus 4 bracket x minus 2 squared. Then I rewrite this. You look like that, right? Then I draw a number line. 0, half, minus half. Okay? Shade here. Now point towards where? Y is less than or equal to half. So I point towards the left side. So that means my maximum that I can go is half. So do you agree that the maximum value is half. I agree. Why? Since the maximum value of that expression is half. Okay? So moving on to the last question. So these first three questions, right? Every question has an equation of like a perfect square inside. Okay? So remember, when you complete a square, you will have a perfect square. Okay? But this question it's not in a perfect square now. I mean, it's not in a completed square form now. So what you need to do? You need to complete the square lah. So what is the max or minimum value of 5 minus x squared and the value of x for which this occurs? So now you can infer from minus x squared. Minus x squared means your curve will look like that, right? A set face. So you can start completing the square. Okay? The way I complete the square is different. It's in my previous video. Okay? So I rearrange it first. Okay? Completing the square can allow you to find your maximum or minimum. Okay? Oh, sorry, this should be a curved bracket. Please take note. Okay, so now minus so these three would be x plus 2 squared. The rest is minus 9. Expand in, I'll get minus x plus 2 squared plus 9. Right? So now I can write my proof already. Okay? So how to prove? Since x plus 2 squared is more than or equal to 0 for all real values of x, then minus x plus 2 squared, remember, multiplied by minus sign, inequality sign must change. Plus 9 to match with it. So if I were to draw a number line again, and let this thing be y. 0. Sorry, I made a mistake here. I added 9 on both sides. Okay. So shade, point towards left side. Right? So my maximum is 9. Okay? So the second part of the question is, and the value of x for which this maximum or minimum occur. So by now you should know maximum or minimum will occur when your square is equal to 0. Okay? So for this second part I write here. Okay? So x plus 2 squared must be equal to 0. So x must be equal to minus 2. Okay? So you can write your statement. Therefore, maximum value of 5 minus 4x minus x squared is 9. And, when x equals to minus 2. Okay? So this is how you do all these proving questions. I mean all the square questions. Okay? So in summary, completed square form allows you to deduce the max or minimum point values. Okay, it also allows you to deduce the max or minimum points coordinates. Okay, like just now in the previous part. Okay, focus on this green part. This 9 is my y. This minus 2 is my x. So coordinates of my maximum point is minus 2, 9. So this is one advantage of using completed square form. Okay? So in short, the coordinates of the turning point, max or minimum point, of y equals to a bracket x minus h squared plus k are h comma k, where h is your x, k is your y. If a is positive, a more than 0, it is a minimum value of y you are calculating for. And if a is less than 0, sorry, this is an error. It should be a is less than 0. The maximum value of y, you are calculating for the maximum value of y. Okay? The coordinates will still be h comma k. Alright, so that's the end of the video. So please go and practice yourself, okay? The knowledge is not yours until you start practicing it. Alright? See ya!